Oh, you know what? Rap was different back then. When Puffy was out, or I call him Puffy, then you call him P. Diddy now. When he was out, a lot of the cases that he had problems with people when he went out to clubs or people in the music industry. It was something that was expected back then, because you got to remember, this was a different time. It was in the 90s going into the 2000s, where rap music was really exploding into the major music industry, becoming a big phenomenon. Rap took over pop music and everything else. What happened, like I said, P. Diddy he was involved in a lot of stuff. So I got called because I had created this hip hop squad. The chief and the commissioner wanted somebody to deal who was knowledgeable of the violent acts in the rap community. They didn't understand that there were so many problems in this rap community with rappers being perpetrators, being victims, and things such as that. So they wanted me to create a unit to deal with them. So I had to be out at night, at bars, at clubs, at concerts, and things like that. Not putting cases on them or following them, but to look out, to make sure that there was no violence, or how I could try to quell the violence in this community.
Is Diddy's temper really as bad as what we hear?
I never saw Diddy's temper like that, but I didn't work closely with him in business. When he dealt with me, it was more professional level, where I'm the detective and he's the guy who's under arrest. And he was always good with me. He and I talked, and he was cooperative. He didn't say much to me because he had attorneys at the time, but I never had a problem with him. I always had to arrest him or to facilitate his arrest in the precincts when he got involved in the Club New York shooting, and when he got into the Steve Stout investigation with MTV, and a few other things that they called me on. People always labeled me as Diddy's detective, because every time something happened with him, they called me.
They labeled you Diddy's detective?
Yeah.
Wow. Anything, you know, we hear about these allegations involving sex trafficking. Was there ever anything that you saw back then that gave you pause?
No, I never saw Puffy or P. Diddy dealing with this sex trafficking allegations. That never happened with us. It was more where he got involved in such an assault or a shooting that he was involved with. But it was different back then, again, as I told you. You know, the rap music was different than it is now. Now things are a lot different. You have social media. You have a lot of these rappers that are coming out on social media now, and they're more important than old school rappers.
Yeah.
So, and we're having so many of them.
Right,
so there's so many cases, and social media brings out a lot of things, and especially with the rap music industry, as far as you know, these beefs, these wars that they have, these disputes, they come out more frequently now.
Laura's been looking all day trying to figure out where P. Diddy is. I mean, you've been working all sorts of sources.
Right.
And do you have any, I mean, do you think he's a flight risk?
I don't think he's a flight risk, because he has high-powered attorneys. So he's not going to go far, but he's probably staying at an undisclosed location, laying low until his lawyers advise him what he's going to have to do next. I mean, I dealt with some of his attorneys in the past. They're probably not, I don't know if they're still practicing, but...
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.